So our speaker for today, Marilyn, she never knows what I'm going to say about her because we get to say something if we want to about the person speaking. But she gave me permission today to say this one thing about her that you may not know is that she loses her glasses all the time. So if you have any helpful hints for her, you might see her afterwards. But in the meantime, she's going to give us a lovely speech on It's Not What You Think. Ooh, Awakening the Power of Understanding. Marilyn Freed.
Thank you, Cindy. It so happens I lost a pair this morning somewhere in the church, but they're not prescription ones, so they're floating around somewhere. Another pair of glasses, so I had to make sure I had an extra pair with me. So today we're talking about the power of spiritual understanding, and I kind of love this one ever since I read a book called The Power of Misunderstanding. So the power of spiritual understanding, it's like, where do we start this morning? And another thing that you need to know, maybe, because it's going to be a little different maybe this morning, because I was working on preparing this talk and went to print it out yesterday afternoon, and my computer went gaflooey. So I had some notes, so I have notes, but I don't have it quite organized the way I normally do, because after typing all of that out, the computer just wasn't going to do it, and so I just went without it. So here's where we go. So I want to start with a quote that says, the less affected we are by the world, the more effective we will be in it. And I think that's an important thing to remember as I go through this, because it seems right now that there's just so much craziness going around, and everything is so intense. Everything is so fast. There's so much information coming at us all at the same time that we're in information overload. There's just so much going on. So knowing that the less affected we are by the world, the more effective we will be in it, helps with spiritual understanding. So, understanding is one of the 12 powers. It's spiritual discernment, not just intellectual knowledge. It brings the heart and the mind together. We can know many facts and still lack understanding. One of the Bible verses that I really like is, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So we want to open to the understanding that Spirit brings to us. We interpret things through fear, old stories, old emotions, and appearances. When we try something happens and we try to understand it, we look into our memory bank of what happened in the past when there was something similar, or someone, the same person, or just anything from our memory bank of what has happened to us in the past. And understanding, spiritual understanding, invites us to pause and ask for the deeper truth when something happens. It affects our daily life, and it affects the life in the world. Oops. So, have you ever been absolutely certain that you knew what was happening? Just in everyday life, conversation, you know what conversation meant. You got some news and you knew what that meant. You were absolutely sure what was happening. But then you found out that you were totally wrong. That it wasn't what you thought. You may think somebody ignored you, but then later you discover that they had simply forgotten their glasses. so they didn't even see you. And you took it as they were mad at you for something. Or maybe you got a brief text message, this is another one for me, and it was just, call me, and you thought, oh my gosh, something's wrong. And you found out that they found your favorite cookie in a bakery nearby and they wanted to bring it to you. We make things up. Immediately our mind begins running a screenplay. Oh, what happened? Am I in trouble? Is someone sick? And then you just find that answer, and I'm losing mine. Because so much of what causes us suffering isn't what's actually happening. It's what we think is happening. Another one with the text message I thought of this morning for me is, my granddaughter's 22, and I helped raise her, and we've been pretty close over the years, and she's away at college now for the last 2 years, and has her first boyfriend that's serious. It's been about 3 years now, so we're thinking he's a keeper. And I text her, and I get nothing. I wait a couple months, and I text her, and I get nothing. And I go to, she's mad at me. When I see her, she's not mad at me. She's just busy living her life that a 22-year-old is supposed to be doing. When I see her, I know we're still as close as ever. But that's the misunderstandings. So in unity, understanding is one of the 12 powers. And Charles Fillmore described it as our capacity for spiritual discernment, the ability to perceive the truth beneath the surface. Notice that understanding is not just collecting information. We have more information coming at us than any generation before us. Our anxiety is high, conflict is high, loneliness is high, those are all high. But understanding is, knowledge alone isn't enough. Someone can know every nutrition fact, and we get a lot of that coming at us these days, and still eat very poorly. We can memorize every spiritual book, read every spiritual book ever written, and still struggle to forgive. Someone can know all about prayer without ever experiencing peace. But understanding is different. Understanding transforms knowledge into wisdom. It moves information from the head to the heart, and it allows us to see with spiritual eyes. That's why Proverbs tells us, lean not on your own understanding. We don't take this as rejecting intelligence. Rather, it invites us to not to rely solely on the limited perspective of the human mind. Instead, we awaken the deeper understanding that comes from the divine presence. Our human mind sees pieces. Spirit sees the whole picture. We know that. We study that here. That we don't see the whole picture. We just see little pieces here and there. And being human, we put it together out of fear and make it the worst case scenario instead of the best case scenario. We say, our mind asks, why is this happening to me? But Spirit asks, why is this emerging through me? The human mind sees obstacles, but Spirit sees opportunities for growth. The human mind judges appearances, but Spirit recognizes divine potential. Jesus was a great example of that. When others saw sin, he didn't see it. When others saw sickness, he saw wholeness. When others saw other negative things, he didn't see it. He looked past that. What he saw is the truth that he knew was in him, that we are part of the divine. The divine is within us, and that is who we are. He didn't judge by appearances. He didn't ignore them. He recognized them, but he didn't judge by them. He didn't pretend things weren't happening. And those of you that come often know I use this word a lot because I think there are many times when we may pretend that it's all okay, when deep down inside we're feeling sadness or we're feeling something else. We recognize what we're feeling, but we also recognize there's a truth underneath what we're feeling, and we don't have to stick to the first thing that comes up. So how often do we misunderstand our own lives? We get a setback of some sort, and we think that means it's proof that we're not enough. Or a relationship ending is evidence that we'll always be alone. Or a financial challenge that we'll never have enough. What if the closed door is actually creating space for a better opportunity? What if the difficult conversation is opening the way to deeper honesty? What if the delay is preparing us rather than punishing us? Understand allows us to pause and believe and pause before we create a story. So instead of reacting automatically to what we hear, we become curious. Instead of assuming we know, we begin listening. So maybe what we're looking at or what we think we're seeing isn't the real thing. Maybe there's a deeper truth underneath. Suppose your spouse or partner seems unusually quiet. Without understanding, the mind says, they're upset with me. Understanding asks, what else might be true? Perhaps they're tired. Perhaps worried about a family member. Another example is our relationship with our bodies. Suppose we receive an unexpected diagnosis. The human mind often races towards fear, but understanding doesn't deny that diagnosis. It simply refuses to have the fear have the last word. And we can go on and on and on with that. I think every one of us could think of a time when we really misunderstood something. Maybe it's just that we didn't quite hear it correctly or see it correctly, but it's not the disaster that we think it might be. Understanding gently interrupts those times. So how can we get to this understanding? Well, we know that if we want to improve our health, improve our bodies, we have to eat right, we have to exercise. We might look up all kinds of new recipes, we might be reading the latest exercises that we should do, we might be reading the latest supplements that we should take, and we can read all that information, but if we don't do something, if we don't go to the gym and exercise, nothing's going to change. If we don't do something with the information that we get, nothing will change. So first thing we do is pause. Most misunderstandings happen because we react before we reflect. Somebody says something and we just come out with it. We think we have to give it an answer and we don't. Second, we pray, and prayer isn't telling God, informing God, it's aligning ourselves with divine wisdom. And third, we ask better questions. Instead of why is this happening, we ask what truth is trying to reveal itself here. Instead of what's wrong, we ask what wants to be healed. And then we listen, not only to others, but to the still small voice within. And these are all the steps for the fifth principle in unity, which is it's not enough to know the truth. You have to live the truth you know. And it's also part of unity way of praying. So this understanding, it doesn't grow in quietness, in the outside. It grows in quietness. And finally, we remember who we are. We're not merely a personality trying to survive. We're a spiritual being expressing divine life. And the wisdom we seek is already planted within you. Unity teaches that all of the 12 powers already exist within us. So the power of love, the power of wisdom, the power of understanding, the power of truth, these are all gifts that each one of us has. We really don't know that usually when we come into the world, and our world doesn't teach us that. But unity does teach us that. So we're awakening them. We're understanding that they're already there, and we're waiting for patiently inviting them beyond us, the appearance. Smile and say, it's not what I think, then ask, what is Spirit inviting me to understand? You may discover that the greatest transformation isn't changing the situation, but it's changing ourselves. 12-step programs teach that when we do the 12 steps, no matter what 12-step program you're involved in, it changes you. When we actually do the steps, it changes us. But we have to do the steps, just like going to the gym. We can't just give it lip service, or nothing happens. Together, the best of Spirit lives within each of us. So we do have the opportunity every day of our lives to express this understanding. And this week I got some news that I wasn't happy to hear. And the very next day, I get this Neil Donald Walsh. Some of you may know who he is, some of you may not. But he is the person that made the Conversations with God series of books. And this is what I got the very next day. On this day of your life, I believe God wants you to know that less and less do you need to force things until you finally arrive at non-action. This is the message of the Tao, and it's true. Werner Eckhart has taught, life will resolve itself in the process of life itself. Byron Katie says that liberation is loving what is. And Stephen Mitchell calls non-action the purest and most effective form of action. The game plays the game, the poem writes the poem, and we can't tell the dancer from the dance. Perhaps the best thing you can do right now is nothing at all. So when something that you're not really happy about shows up, remember that to get spiritual understanding, you need to take a pause, ask Spirit what Spirit's trying to teach you. Ask what's trying to emerge from this. Ask, what would you have me do? Instead of trying to go from your knowledge, which comes only from your past, from fear, and not where we want to go. So I thank you for listening, and I urge you to go through this week when something happens to ask, what is mine to learn through this? What is mine to do? What is mine to express? And when we do that, we become more peaceful. And as we become more peaceful, that peace flows into the world, and the world becomes more peaceful as well. And we know, God knows, our world needs more peace these days. So thank you.
Dear sweet Marilyn, guess what just happened right here? Well, you dropped your glasses, and then you went ahead and read from your paper